Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is my dog, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for InvictaFC 5. As far as the fight card goes, I thought it was awesome. I'm going to be honest with you. Once that fight card happened, I was like MMA'd out. Like that weekend, like UFC on Fuel happened the next day, and I was like, man, it was kind of negligible. It's like, yeah, I could do without it, to be honest, because I thought I just got my MMA fix for the whole week. Other notes, production was really good for this card. The stream was really good for me, at least. Commentary, a lot of people do not really like King Mo in commentary. They feel he doesn't add much to it. I think the commentary is fine. But like Julie Kedzie is definitely a standout as far as commentary. She's just really into it. My picks were 7 out of 13. I missed the Waterson fight, which was awesome. The Honchak fight, Lauren Taylor Young, Sukapova Rodish, and Nakamoto Adjustment Duke, and Alexander Chambers versus Escobar. As far as post-fight bonuses, Sarah Kaufman versus Leslie the Peacemaker Smith got fight of the night. Submission of the night went to Thug Rose Namajunas for flying armbar on Kathina Killswitch Caltron. And knockout of the night went to the Queen of Mean, Miriam Nakamoto, knocking out Jasmine the Gun Duke. Yeah, these fights were pretty much, all of them were good in their own ways, some of them weren't so aesthetically pleasing, the Maya versus Gurgel fight, for example, wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing. I got mixed reviews on Honchak versus Porto, because it was technically sound. Didn't seem to get out of like first gears. That's one of the bigger problems with that fight. Otherwise, it was a good technically sound fight. But yeah, let's get started. Michelle the Karate Hottie Waterson beat Jessica Penne by submission in the 4th round. I just gotta say, I did not expect Michelle Waterson to beat Jessica Penne. I did not expect her to be able to hang on the ground with her. And even get like top control and even like mount at times. Didn't expect her to submit her either. So it was a great, this is, considering if you saw her fight against like Lacey Shockman, where she it's arguable if she even won. This was a different Michelle Waterson. She was definitely ready for the ground game here. Whatever she's doing at Jackson Winklejohn, she's got to keep doing it, because I've never seen her look that good on the ground. Penne did really good, and I will say this too. I think if they rematch, and I was looking at the 105, fighters that are signed to Invicta so far. I think an immediate rematch might actually be the best option. As far as an atomweight, as far as Michelle Waterson's next title defense. I mean, you do have like Alexandra Chambers winning, Simona Sukapova winning, but like, there's no clear #1 contender, and there's no real like, I guess, marketable one, because you have the females on the prelims. It's like, no one knows who they are. And the fight too was just great, man. Oh man, that was awesome. Just the ground battle, their flexibility. I mean, what one guy said is like, yeah, this is definitely something that you're just not gonna get in a men's fight. They're lighter and they're very flexible. So you see a lot more scrambles. You see him a lot more just legs just moving and whatnot. It's hard for any one fighter to keep a dominant position for a long period of time. But yeah, it was really good. Like I said, I think if they rematch, I'd probably give it to Penny. But man, that was such a come from behind. I get a lot of respect for Waterson because she was getting, really, she almost got finished in that third round, and she definitely rallied in that fourth to get that win. That armbar came out of nowhere too. All of a sudden you're watching, and I was like, oh, she tapped. Like Penny tapped. I'm like, oh crap. All of a sudden Waterson won. Had a really emotional post-fight speech and just post-fight celebration. I gotta say, I totally underestimated her. So I really didn't think she can hang on the ground with her, and she totally did. And yeah, great win for Waterson. I hope that I kind of want to see a rematch just because I thought that maybe Cassie Rodish, if she beat Simona Sikapova, would probably get the next shot because she was on a win streak, but she ended up losing. So, I'd most likely just like to see a rematch between the two. Okay, next fight after that, Barb Honchak beat Vanessa Porto by unanimous decision. A lot of people are saying, I picked Porto to win, and Honchak showed some really good hands here. One thing with Porto, I don't want to take away from Honchak's victory, but man, Porto had a really bad game plan. She threw some leg kicks, but not enough. Didn't take the fight to the ground. That time she did in the fourth or fifth round that she did take it to the ground. She let her back off. I mean, she's superior. What is it? 10 out of her 15 during that time wins her by submission. I mean, it's like, geez, why not take the fight to the ground? Honchak was a really good fighter. I liked what I saw in her stand-up. She keeps her chin tucked really well. She does have some strong wrestling as well, and trains at Militage, so that really helps there. I would like to see her. I don't know if she's fought her already, but I'd like to see her fight Jessica Ai, who's in Bellator. If not at 125, I guess you can do Jennifer Maia, Barb Honchak. What else? Actually, that's not the worst fight because Jennifer Maia is coming off a good win over Zola Gurgel, so definitely not the worst fight there. But yeah, good win for Honchak there. Next fight after that, Christian Cyborg Santos beat Fiona Muxlow by TKO in the first round. Very typical Cyborg fight, overpowering her opponent, bullied, just pushed forward. A lot of people say, it's not, for some it's not even entertaining to watch. It's like a snuff film, which is kind of true too, in a sense. I mean, it's a Cyborg fight, but she's going to fight Marlos Kunin next. And I can see her beating Kunin. She hits really hard. Super aggressive. A lot of other females in the division can't handle her power. I'd like to eventually see what's Julia Budd versus Cyborg would be like, because I think Julia Budd might want to grapple her. I think that would be really interesting. Otherwise, there's Edion Gomez. I mean, there's not a lot of people for Cyborg to fight at 145 outside of other females that she'd kill. But, I think, when, Kunin fights Cyborg, I think that Cyborg's probably going to win in her typical aggressive fashion, Okay, next fight after that, we have Sarah Kaufman beating Leslie the Peacemaker Smith by split decision. Gonna be honest, I thought it was pretty clear cut. Kaufman rounds 1 and 3. Smith did get that good head kick on the second round and clearly took that round. The fight kind of turned out how I expected it to be. I thought it'd be a really fun fight. I didn't think Smith would ever go down. I didn't think she'd get dropped. And with Kaufman, I didn't expect Kaufman to get dropped, actually. That's the funny thing. So I was really surprised because Smith doesn't always have the best technique, but, does have those long limbs. And this was just a really fun fight, but Kaufman has a more accurate striking. I think she connected more. So yeah, good one for Kaufman. She'll be in the UFC. I don't know who they're gonna have her fight, but it should be pretty interesting. I hope Leslie Smith signs with the UFC. She's just such a fun fighter to watch. She can fight anyone pretty much and have a fun fight because she actually has a decent ground game. And her stand-up game, she's like a Diaz brother. Even in her post-fight press conference, she was talking. She's kind of taking this little jab, saying something on the lines like, "Yeah, you got this UFC fighter," and she's like getting barely beating, this Invicta fighter or something to that degree, So she's got a lot of personality, fun fighter to watch. I'm curious to see who they'll give her next. Maybe they'll give her a Lauren Taylor or something like that. Who else can she fight that's not signed to the UFC? That's a problem. Miriam Nakamoto, that'd be fun as well. She is coming off a loss, so you could do Jessamine Duke, Leslie Smith as well. Okay, next fight after that, Jennifer Maia beat Zvala Frelser Gurgel by unanimous decision. Not the most aesthetically pleasing fight to watch, but it was definitely a good strategy from Maia. Gurgel always had a problem of backing herself. She backs up a lot. She backs herself up against a cage. Saw that in a Bellator fight. Maia just totally took advantage of it. And it just, just got to win. A lot of pressure. She did well in the stand-up, too, actually. So, no, it was just a good win for Maia. I can't really think of who else is at 125 right now, and that is actually a signature win. So I actually wouldn't mind seeing Jennifer Maia versus Barb Honchak. Next, with Gurgel, I guess she'd fight Porto or just someone else at 125. I can't really think who's in that division, though, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, good win for Maia there. Next fight after that, Lauren Taylor beat Caitlin Young by unanimous decision. Young looked good in the first round, and then Lauren Taylor managed to rally in the second and third to get the win. She's only 6-0, so Taylor definitely still has some. She can definitely still get better. Definitely a very good win over a veteran opponent, over Caitlin Young. The fight was primarily took place on the ground. On the feet, Caitlin Young seemed to have the advantage here. But with Taylor, I like to see her fight like Amanda Nunes. I know some of these females in the UFC can fight for Invicta, so maybe that. Or who else? Leslie Smith, Lauren Taylor wouldn't be bad either. Caitlin Young, I don't know what happens with her because, man, she keeps losing. I don't know. I don't even remember the last time she actually won a fight. I know she got that draw against Leslie Smith. But, yeah, it kind of sucks. She's a good fighter. Her stand-up's solid. She's got a good chin. Her ground game still needs some work, but it's not like she's totally incompetent or anything. But, yeah, good one for Taylor here. Next right after that, Julia Budd beat Molly Estes by rear naked choke in the third round. Budd has really made some strides in her ground game. She has a kickboxing background, and is a solid kickboxer. But in her MMA career, if you watch all her Invicta fights, she takes him to the ground. Against Jermaine Durandami, she took that fight to the ground as well. So. I'm glad to see her mix it up. And she also finishes, too, when she's on the ground. She did need some work with getting the hooks in when she got the back. That's definitely one of the criticisms against her. But otherwise, she's definitely picking up a good win streak and showing to be one of the more solid 145-pound fighters of the division. I'd like to see her fight Ediane Gomez, Christian Cyborg, or Marlos Kunin. I think out of those fighters, I honestly think Julia Budd's the best to beat. Cyborg, to be honest with you. She might get overwhelmed, but she might just want to take the fight to the ground as well. Okay, next fight after that, Beck Hyatt beat Yasminka Sive by armbar the first round. You know, there's a rivalry and a bit of a grudge here, and it showed, and Beck Hyatt just went for it, man. She started striking, took her down, beat her up when she did take her down, got that armbar, and it was it, you know. Beck Hyatt's really fun to watch, great personality as well. I think they were talking about matching her up with Joanne Calderwood, and I think that fight would be pretty awesome. There's other fighters like Tesha Torres. You can also do like Katja Kankanpa. I believe she fights at 115. Maybe Rose Namajunas. I don't know what they're going to do with the Rose Namajunas, because I think they definitely have a great prospect here, because Rose is only 20. Beck Hyatt, though, you know, good fighter, you know, good stand-up, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Even against Esparza, I mean, she couldn't match her wrestling, but, you know, she didn't get submitted and managed to pretty much thwart any submission attempts from Esparza. But yeah, I'd say like Joanne Calderwood, Beck Hyatt would be pretty cool. I'd like to see. I really wish you know, they can get like Felice Herrig or like Jessica Aguilar from Bellator and put them into Invicta, so we can see like the best 115-pound fighters fight in Invicta, pretty much. Yeah, but you know, good one for. On to the prelims, Simona Sukapova beat Cassie Rodas by guillotine choke in the second round. Rodas was doing really well. She's really aggressive and you know, pretty strong, but you know, she definitely fell for that submission from Sukapova. Sukapova was doing well too. It just just how the fight game goes. You know, you make that one, like you saw it, like constantly with Rodas. It's she kept putting her head pretty much in her armpit to try and get the takedown, and you know, eventually this wasn't the first time that like she was in trouble from a guillotine in this fight, so she was kind of just asking to get guillotined here. Good one for Sukapova. You know, it's her first fight in Invicta at 105. Obviously the champion's Michelle Waterson, but like, once again, she doesn't come off like a clear contender at 105. Maybe she can fight like Alexandra Chambers or something like that. There's other fighters like Amy Davis, Nick Daly, Rivera Kalanick, and Angelica Chavez fights in this division, Laura Senko. So, I mean, there's some good fights for her, but yeah, I'd like to see, hopefully we can see like a clear contender in the near future at 105. I think, despite getting a good win here, I don't think that it warrants, like, say, a title shot or anything like that. Speaking of good win, Miriam Nakamoto knocked out Jessamine Duke by a knee in the first round. Obviously, there's that controversy because of that second knee when Jessamine Duke was on her knees. The first knee took out Duke. Duke actually had a good, you know, Duke she's still a prospect in the division. You know, good Muay Thai, good ground game, but Nakamoto's stand-up, her knees are really good. I remember seeing them in videos. I thought that Duke would be able to take her down, but no, you know. Duke was trying to push her up against the cage, tried to take her down, but didn't, you know, wasn't able to. So this was a really strong win for Nakamoto. As far as like 135, you know, Leslie Smith, Amanda Nunes, Sarah Kaufman, Miriam Nakamoto versus Jermaine Darandami. If they can get Darandami to fight at Invicta, that'd be a cool fight as well. Because I know Darandami fights at 145, but I'm pretty sure she's cutting down to 135. Okay, next fight is that. Kaja Kankanpa beat Juliana Carneiro Lima by unanimous decision. This fight would mainly take place on the floor. I remember some of the stand-up, but I remember some like the judo throws that Kaja would do on Lima. It was a good fight. She won. You know, she showed a good grappling game, and got a pretty solid win. There's not much I can say here. You know, So she fights next. I guess, there's not many to choose from. There's like Tesha Torres, Kiana Brain, maybe Beck Hyatt. Is the thing with female fights is that you can pretty much match up winners with people coming off a loss, and it's not such a big deal. But otherwise, good win for Kaja here. Next fight, I thought Rose Namajunas beat Katrina Caltron by a flying armbar 12 seconds in the first round. Just awesome. They got a real talent with Namajunas here, girlfriend of Pat Barry, but she's really coming into her own. I liked her fight against Emily Kagan too. It's funny, she said like, oh, this coming from a white belt. I'm like, well, you're a white belt? You friggin' did this, like, you're chaining triangles, arm bars, and even like omoplatos on Emily Kagan in your first pro MMA fight. And you're a white belt. That's pretty impressive. Arsano's good too, actually. She hasn't been able to show it though. And I've seen some of her fights. She has like a really good left hook and just overall good kickboxing. I don't know what you do with her, Eventually, do you want to build her up by giving her like people new to Invicta, or do you want to give her people established in Invicta like a Beck Hyatt, maybe like a Katja Kanfa, or like Joan Calderwood or Tesha Torres or someone like that? Yeah, it's really tough to say. I don't know what they're going to do with her. I don't think they should keep sticking her on the prelims because, she's a pretty solid fighter. Even though she's still really young, both in age and in her fighting MMA career. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what's next from her. And finally, Alexandra Chambers beat Jody Escobar by rear naked choke. Good setup here, I've seen some of Chambers' fights. Her ground game is actually pretty solid. She showed some good ground and pound when I've seen her. This fight's... I remember it was like some sort of odd scramble that got the fight to the ground. I can't exactly remember how this fight went, but, Escobar actually came off a win over Liz McCarthy, who's a pretty good fighter herself at 105. So this is a good win for Chambers here. But, like I said, you can give her like a Liz McCarthy, Hevera Kalanick, Amy Davis, Stephanie Frauser, Cassie Rodish, as her next fight. Someone just coming off of, a lot of these female fighters don't have a lot of fights. It's not uncommon to see some of these fighters with less than 5 fights. So you kind of have to match them up with like whoever you can. You can't really look at record in women's MMA. You have to kind of discern who some fighters should fight from, like a perceived skill set. Chambers looks solid though. Good stand up, good ground. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my InvictaFC 5 post fight analysis. If you guys have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.